Assalamu alaikum. Today on Nuron Academy, we discuss engineering as a sacred trust. If you benefit, please support by subscribing and sharing as a sadaqah. So let's explore this beautiful concept together through a story that really brings it to life.
I want to tell you about an engineer named Nadir. He saw his skills not just as a way to make a living, but as an amanah. And this idea of amanah is so central to our worldview. It's a sacred trust, a responsibility given to us by Allah the Exalted, and it's something we're all accountable for. And it's not just about money or property. It's about our talents, our knowledge, even our time.
Nadir understood this deeply, that even something as basic as water is part of this trust. But the real question is, how did he take this profound principle and actually apply it in a tough, real-world situation? Well, you have to picture this city where he lived. It was right on the edge of the desert, a place where life was shaped by scarcity. The challenges were just enormous. Rain was a rare gift, the wells that existed weren't shared fairly, and for the poor, just getting enough water to survive was a daily struggle. And of course, that scarcity led to conflict. Merchants fighting over prices, officials just stuck, unable to make a decision. Now, in the middle of all this tension, Nadir's approach was completely different. He didn't point fingers. He didn't get into the arguments. He just watched. He measured. He studied. He understood a foundational principle that we can all learn from. Real solutions don't come from blame. They come from deep, quiet, and sincere observation. And this very principle, this idea of wisdom before work, it guided his entire engineering process. It wasn't about being the fastest or the loudest. It was about being the most thoughtful. So instead of rushing in to dig a bunch of new wells, Nadir first dedicated himself to truly understanding the land. He mapped what couldn't be seen. He traced the hidden slopes underground, he charted how water flowed through the seasons, and he calculated exactly where precious water was being lost. It was a slow, scientific approach, one rooted in patience and precision. You can imagine some people grew impatient with him. Just dig deeper, they would say, offering that simple fix for a very complex problem. But Nadir knew better. And his reply is something that has stuck with me. Depth without wisdom dries faster. Think about that. A well dug in the wrong place is totally useless, no matter how deep it is. Real, lasting impact requires knowledge, not just effort. And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? In the Islamic tradition, skills and knowledge aren't for personal pride or status. They're a tool to serve the community. And this leads us straight into the ethics that have to be built into the design from the very start. Nadir proposed this brilliant solution, a network of underground channels to bring water from far away. But the genius here wasn't just technical, it was ethical. Just look at this comparison. His system was designed for shared access points, for the benefit of the whole community. The alternative? Private locks, a hoarded resource, a system that would be controlled by the wealthy. From its very conception, his design was about justice. Of course, the wealthy landowners objected. They wanted to know who would own the water, who was going to control this powerful new resource. Nadir's response was so profound, it just cut right to the heart of the matter. He said, "No one owns what all depend on. Water, like the air we breathe, is a mercy from Allah, subhanallah, meant for everyone, not a commodity to be controlled by a few." This is such a core tenet of Islamic leadership. You design systems that promote fairness, not your own advantage. And this ethical framework didn't just stop at the design phase. It carried right through into the construction itself. I mean, look at the principles he insisted on during the build. He absolutely refused to use forced labor, which was common back then. He made sure every single worker was paid a fair wage. The entire project would pause for the 5 daily prayers. Yes, this meant higher costs, and yes, it meant longer timelines, but Nadir understood that the process, how you build, is just as important as the final product. This just shows what true halal ambition is all about. It prioritizes human dignity and our duties to Allah, subhanahu wa ta'ala, over speed and profit. But Nadir's greatest test was still coming. And it wasn't a test of engineering, it was a test of his integrity. So, once the water began to flow, a powerful patron saw an opportunity. He came to Nadir with a very tempting offer. More funding, more personal authority for him, and, here's the critical part, ultimate control over who got the water. It was a clear offer of power, cleverly disguised as an offer of help. And this brings us to a question we should all ask ourselves. When you're offered power, what's the real measure of success? Is it the authority you gain, or is it the principles you manage to hold on to? Nadir refused the offer, and that night, he wrote down his reasoning, a powerful reminder of who he was truly accountable to. He understood that his design wasn't just stone and water. It was a legacy he would have to answer for. And if it served the powerful over the people, it would stand as a witness against him on the day of judgment. So here's the crucial lesson. Not every upgrade is an improvement. Not every offer of more power or more resources actually serves the original noble intention. Let's take a look at the true legacy of Nadir's choice. Years passed, and slowly, quietly, the city was transformed. With a steady, fair supply of water for everyone, fields began to grow where there was once only dust. And with clean water accessible to all, not just the wealthy, public health soared. Illnesses that had plagued the city for generations simply dropped. And this, perhaps, is the most beautiful outcome of all. A whole generation was freed. Instead of spending their days hauling water, children could now go to school. They were carrying books, not buckets. Over time, very few people remembered the name of the engineer who made it all possible. But you see, that was never the point. He wasn't chasing fame. He was fulfilling his amanah. His legacy wasn't a monument with his name on it, but the mercy that flowed through his creation. Every single drop remembered his intention. And this brings the lesson right to our doorstep. We all have skills, we all have knowledge, we all have resources that others need. So the final question is for you. When you have the ability to control something essential, will you monetize the dependence of others, or will you use your skills to protect access and empower your community? Because ultimately, this is the essence of building and creating as a Muslim. We don't just engineer systems of concrete and code. Our true calling is to be guardians of mercy, embedding justice, fairness, and compassion into everything we make.
Presented and created by Norin Studio.